It's the Newry Reporter today, and it is a heavy tome, yes. I've got two heavyweights who produced or helped produce the tome. I've got Brian Hyland and Garth McCulloch. You're both very welcome.
Thanks very much, Phil.
It's a very full paper.
Yeah, well, we always endeavour to get as much in as possible without sacrificing quality.
Oh, you never do that. Not in a million years.
You had
to endure the Armagh humiliation at the weekend.
Yeah, that was one of those games. I think everybody going into it maybe thought Armagh had a chance, and I think if they'd have played to their potential, they probably did have a slight chance of maybe getting a wee bit closer to Donegal. But Donegal, the first 35 minutes, certainly at least, were. If they played like that for the rest of the year, they'd beat anybody.
Yeah, isn't it interesting, superb. Brian, that he says if Armagh had played to their full potential, ergo they weren't playing to their full potential, they could have done better.
That's a phrase used often in sport, isn't it? That they haven't performed to their potential. I watched we parts of the game. I haven't seen Armagh play throughout the year until then, so I don't know what their potential is. But
what do you think?
Donegal certainly looked good.
They didn't play well. Now that's whether that's to do with they didn't play well off their own bat or Donegal didn't allow them to play well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors to take into it. Kieran McGuinness said himself that they had the same amount of scoring chances as Donegal. The 25 scoring chances, Donegal were much more efficient. So their end tells a tale where they have chances, they had goal chances. It's therefore they didn't play to their potential, whereas Donegal, just took advantage of it.
Was there to any extent did Donegal, was there kind of gamesmanship going on? Did Donegal psychologically defeat them and make them feel the underdogs? We're going to stuff you.
No. I mean, there didn't seem to be anything coming out of Donegal, prior to the match that sort of suggested that they were saying they were a shoe-in for a victory. And at the same time, Kieran McGuinness was almost talking down Armagh's chances, saying they've been playing Division 3 football all year, Donegal have been playing Division 1 football, so that's what it turned out to be the case.
Anyway, are you suffering post-traumatic stress as a consequence of having had to cover the game?
Not in the slightest, no. Not in the slightest.
That's good. Brian, take me in the news.
We'll start the front row. Unfortunately, bad news.
Awful.
A bad accident outside Newry, obviously, on Monday night, and everyone talking.
You get to name the person in your front page lead, and
well, I have, and that's our job, you know what I mean? Because once something like this happens, the first thing on everyone's lips is, who was it, and do I know the person? Yeah. Unfortunately, it was a Noel Campbell from just outside Newry.
Yeah.
We're not too sure of the details of it, and obviously wouldn't want to speculate how or why it happened. But obviously, a family have been left devastated this week.
His minister there, Ryan's Presbyterian Church, David Murphy, telling you the family are still in shock, but they're coping with the help and support of their neighbours and friends in the congregation.
And that's important when something like this happens, that the community do come together and rally around the family,
Yeah. Right, back to sport, if you would, Garth, dear boy.
On the back page, along with obviously the sort of roundup of Armagh, we have a story about St Coleman's running track now. There was an event. The reason we did this story, there was an event at the weekend held by Willie McCracken, who a lot of people know.
For hospice.
For hospice, and I think it turned out to be a reasonably well attended event. We raised a bit of money, which is the main thing, but. It's the first event really of its type that's been held at St Coleman's, and the track's been open I think for 4 years now. Now it can't host full championships because it's only got 6 lanes instead of 8. But Elaine Letty spoke to Francis O'Hagan, or Cookie O'Hagan as he's known as, which would be very well known around the area, very well respected athletics coach, both here and the UK as well. He's been asked to coach British athletes as well, so he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So he basically sort of said what we've really been thinking. He coaches, for example, just 2 people, Aisling Crossy and Oisin O'Callaghan, who have the potential to be Olympians in the very, very near future. They're fantastic athletes. From a training facility point of view, the track seems to be doing its job. However, if you're going to have a multi-million-pound facility, which is what it is, there's no sports development officer there anymore. Shutters are closed during the day. There's basically no advertising. Nobody even knows it's there. There's no signposting for it. It's not used to its full capacity. But it's like Armagh not playing to their full potential.
Yeah.
It's the running track. It's not used to its full capacity. It's a multi-million-pound facility sitting there which isn't being used. How it can be,
Well, you spell it out there in your back page. Yeah, back page lead.
Straight to the point, track underused. But
Yeah,
then,
absolutely.
You know, it sort of tells its own story.
Brian, into the hard cutting edge of
Into
news.
the interesting stuff.
Go ahead.
Wee story there, we had it last week on page 2, just about Narrow Keep being closed for the summer.
Yes.
The Environment Minister, Mark Durkan, has turned around, intervened, and has ensured that it's going to remain open during the summer.
Yes.
Which is a good news story because, as I said last week,
Absolutely.
it's one of the most iconic buildings and properties in Newry and Mourne, and it's important, considering
Yes.
how focused on tourism the new county is, that something like this is open. So that's good news there. Also, the wee story just about a pipe bomb found on the Armagh Road.
Yeah. Where did that come from?
Well, I'm not too sure where it came from. They actually weren't even looking for it. They were looking.
Yeah.
They were investigating some other sort of criminal matter, and came across it. But it was very close to a children's play area, and again, that highlights the dangers of having these sort of.
And if they came across it by accident, a child. could come
Absolutely,
across it by
yeah.
accident
And, well, a
very,
child
very
picks it
easily.
up and throws it.
Yeah.
God
A Warren
knows
Point assault there as well, I see in your page 2. Police in the Point are appealing for information following an assault in the area in Church Street in the square early hours of Sunday, the 7th of June.
16-year-old, so quite a young fella.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this happens quite regularly, whether it's Warren Point or Newry or Cross McGlen or Kilkeel.
I just wonder what a 16-year-old is doing out at between 1 and 2 in the morning.
Well, that raises more questions as
Doesn't
well.
it? Yeah.
Yep. Just on to page 3, I think everyone's familiar with Hillary. Hillary Halliday.
Page 3 girl, Hillary Halliday.
Yep.
She's got it for her BEM. Her BEM?
BEM, which
BEM?
is
What is that? BEM? BEM?
well,
BEM.
It's like MBE. It's shortened. It's
Yeah.
for British Empire.
Well done. Seriously, well done to
And
Hillary
it's for
Halliday.
services to local government. Hillary retires now in 2 weeks after
Yeah.
34 years in the council. So,
She has been a stalwart throughout her time in the council. She's been there, constantly being helpful to people. And there pictured you have the pair of them, the smiling Paddy Duffy.
the smiling Paddy Duffy, who I believe is retiring as well in 2 weeks. Paddy didn't get the Queen's honour, but
I'm
maybe
sure
that-
it'll come.
maybe
Paddy has done with Gateway, for goodness sake. And with he founded the Gateway Club in Newry, and he's heavily involved in the Special Olympics.
Oh yes. I'm not too sure
A
that he
great
founded the
human
Gateway,
being.
but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. As indeed is
Yeah,
Hillary.
he'll not be stuck for things to do when he's retired anyway.
No, he won't.
He's got his fingers in many pies.
Take us into the ionosphere of sporting activity again, dear boy.
Page 37, it's our front page of Sport.
37. Where we
Um,
got you?
We have a story we've been following probably over the last 6 to 8 months or so of Conal Courtney. He's a 16-year-old Newry lad who's currently leading the Irish 125 production championships on his
that
age
him?
group. That's him on the bike, yeah.
Wow. And what age is he?
He's only 16.
Suffering Moses.
So his dad Tommy, he also still do a bit of motorcycle riding, but he's always been in contact with us, and they're really sort of pushing him that he can go right to the top of the sport. But he's been picking up back-to-back wins at Mondello and Kirkeston, and then they were back at Mondello last weekend. He won 2 races on the Saturday, and then the first race on the Sunday he was what you call high-sided by the leader as he went to overtake him, as in Conal was holding the racing line, and the other guy basically going from the Courtney's team sort of saying that he was taken out of it. So it meant that he was a bit injured. The bike, he had to use a hire bike for the second race that day. So he had a wee bit of a setback, but he's still that much of a sort of points cushion at the top of the Irish Championship. It's something that we're keeping an eye on. That you know, it would be nice that if he got to the top of the sport, or he got certainly made a big impact in the sport on a wider level, that we can say, you know, we covered him first when he first started. You know,
I have to say, you know, just to say it with the greatest gentleness, and I wish the lad all the luck in the world. I hope he does fabulously well. But more than anything, I hope he keeps safe.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, you know, sort of looking at that story and then, you know, it's juxtaposed with our front page story, and it just shows, I suppose, you know, the differences. While Conal has had a bit of an accident, you know, it's in an enclosed track, and, you know, there's a lot of safety measures in place and things like that, where, you know, just what happened to Mr. Campbell, I suppose, just, you know, it totally tells a different side of the story.
Absolutely.
Although we do hear a lot of accidents when the environment is safe, whether it's the Northwest or more recently the TT. It's a very dangerous sport.
It
but
is.
But obviously the people that are involved in it know the dangers and are hopefully.
I remember doing a documentary with Joey Dunlop's brother,
Robert,
and he was a lovely man, and there's hardly bone in his body wasn't broken, and then within 2 years he was gone, same as Joey. You know, goodness gracious.
A lot of heartbreak has come to the family.
Right, take us on there if you would, my dear fellow.
In the news, there's a good wee story here written by Donald McMahon on page 4. Newry Bosco Club, the boxing club was broken into at the weekend. Right, maybe it was last weekend.
What would they ever break into them?
Well, I'll tell you why they broke in. They broke in to have a carry-out.
They wanted somewhere to go.
Well, they sat there and had their drink, and then once they were leaving, they smashed the place up and that, you know. And it's unfortunate because the club, it's run by Adrian Patterson, who's well known, provides you know, stuff for young people to do, and it gets them off the streets and gets them exercising and training out there. And that's a big setback for it.
Confidence.
Sorry?
You know, builds great
It does, yeah. But it keeps them away from the street corners.
Yeah.
And now people that are hanging about the street corners have come in and jumped it up. So
wrecking the place, you know. What's that story you've done, Brian? Major book launch announced for War of 1812. You're the expert on that. Tell us.
Don't know about expert. There's a conference in Restrever. There was one last year as well. It's relating to the War of 1812,
Yes.
the Battle of Baltimore and the burning of Washington D.C. And obviously a local man was pivotal in that war.
Yes.
Robert Ross, who I'm sure you're familiar with.
Oh, yes.
So Dr. John McCavitt, who's a well-known historian,
I know John, yes.
big into General Ross. He's organised this legacy conference on the July 3rd, 4th weekend, and he's a number of high-profile guests from America and Canada coming over to speak at it. It's a really, really interesting story just about what happened in terms of the British taking on the Americans and that.
Yes.
So one of the guys, Charles Neymar, he's coming over and he's using the conference as a book launch for his latest book. So,
back to sport.
Usually at this time of year it's sort of the off season, or it is the close season in football or soccer, depending what way you want to call it. But we've quite a few stories here regarding Morepoint Town, Newry City FC, and the first we'll start young lad Aaron Devlin from Hilltown is the only player from the area who's been selected for the County Down Premier Milk Cup squad. Milk Cup draw I think is being made today. It's either today or it's next Wednesday. So he's in the Premier squad. He's only 15. So he's one of the youngest in the squad. He played for Dundalk Youth last year.
What page are you on there?
Page 48.
Sorry. Yeah.
And then in the County Down Junior squad, young lad Dean Truesdale from Newry. He's a striker with Linfield. He's been selected for the junior squad. So there's a little bit of local interest. I know the County Armagh squad was only announced, I think, last night. So I think there are one or two locals in it, which we'll need to keep an eye on. But then just moving on, speaking to Barry Gray, the Warrenpoint Town manager, they made another new signing, Shane Dolan. He's a striker from Dublin.
Yeah. How does that work if he signs somebody? Does money exchange hands?
Well, I mean, generally not from a playing point of view from one club to another, not these days because clubs really don't have it. But with regards to, he'll signed a contract where, the club obviously have to honour paying him X amount of pounds a week.
Yeah.
So, but so the pic photograph there shows second from left, Conor McDonald, who is only 19, but he's on loan from Dundalk last season.
Yes.
A fantastic second part of the season with Warrenpoint. Warrenpoint are hopeful of tying him up. His contract runs out, I think, in a couple of months at Dundalk. So they're looking at maybe getting him in a permanent deal, plus possibly Kieran O'Connor, who was on loan at Warrenpoint last season. So they're moving swiftly to try and get a settled squad for the start of next season, and hopefully they're not in a playoff again. And I just, if we can touch on, they've announced pre-season friendlies, Warrenpoint all the way from home. So I guess obviously to make sure that Milltown sorted, and Newry City have announced a number of pre-season friendlies away, which they're listed on page 48.
Okay, Brian, where are you taking me?
Yeah, we'll just go on into the paper.
Can I take you into a little bit of sport? There's a bevy of buxom beauties, women of a certain age. The Warrenpoint ladies county team that beat Rockmount.
Yeah, that's probably
They're very jolly looking.
Probably not the most
that?
politically correct term I think you'd want to use.
I've never been known for my political correctness.
Well, I value my political correctness. You know what I mean?
But
So
it didn't exist when I was your age.
well, it exists now, Rowan. That's the thing.
Not in my school of proper behaviour. They are beautiful women. They're lovely at a certain age.
That's not in dispute whatsoever.
That's good. That's
not in
good. That's
dispute.
good.
Yeah, the Warrenpoint ladies county team. They beat Rockmount there at the weekend. So
Well done, girls. Well, am I allowed to call them girls?
Well, they are girls.
Yeah. I just want to be careful, you see. But well done, ladies. Well done indeed. Brian, back to you. I'll not get into trouble with you.
Yeah, we've got our courts on 8 and on 9, the ongoing
What page?
Page 9.
Yep.
The ferry company down at Grenore wants to be operational by Easter
Aye.
next year.
What do you think? Is that a realistic aspiration?
it's been going on long enough. I
There
wouldn't
must
doubt.
be
I wouldn't
close to
doubt.
a conclusion now.
Well, I think it did. It's been approved by the council, so it has. So,
Yeah.
I think it was something the residents were expected. So it's
Yeah.
all about compromising and
Okay.
getting the work done.
Fine.
Double page spread in 10-11, just about a breakdown of the council's figures in terms of debt and assets and that there. It was actually a really detailed
Quality of life.
article by former reporter journalist Cormac Campbell, who's now
Yes.
with the detail,
Yeah.
and it was a sort of debut article last week. So we'll run a bit on that.
When will you do a piece, a news piece on the state of Monaghan Street? If you take a walk from here to Bellini's on this side of the street and take a walk from Bellini's on the other side of the street back up here, the street, the stones of the street, absolutely filthy. Every yard of the walk, they're ingrained dirt in the street stones of Monaghan Street, the paved way, the pathways of Monaghan Street. I never saw the like of it in my life. It almost seems as though when the stones were put in, the new footpaths were put in, no one thought, how do we clean these things? They are stinking. That's demonstrable. Walk it and
Because
see.
there's something we could look at. I find them very, very slippy as well. Well,
Yeah.
a wee bit of rain and they're desperately slippy,
yeah.
so they are.
But
but they look
I felt ashamed walking up Monaghan Street this morning to be Newry. I really, really.
Well,
and
certainly
I
something
think
we
it's one to look at.
Yeah, we'll look at that there,
Because
yeah.
nobody's cleaning these things. There's a machine runs over it with a brush in the morning time, but it's not doing the business, you know.
Yeah.
Now, where are we, Brian?
Yeah, but as I say, quite a detailed article did here by Ryan Sands, and I think Paul Welsh was involved as well. One of the interesting things out of it is that the new council's debt is over £90 million. I think the council had to go very recently to get a £5 million overdraft facility put in
Sounds
place
like
as well.
Greece, doesn't it?
What?
It sounds like Greece.
Well, here we're heading that way in
Yeah.
terms of the budget and austerity, you know. So, joking aside, I hope it don't follow that.
And I see the orange and the green are at loggerheads again over
Well, is
the
that
Best Group Parade.
It's that time of the year, isn't it?
So predictable,
It
you know.
resurfaces every year. It never seems to be tackled properly. I suppose it's all about compromising people talking, and hopefully the big demonstration is in Bestbrook this year, you know. So hopefully it passes off peacefully.
It must be. It always has done, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah,
you know.
as far as I'm aware, yeah.
I remember, God be with the days when I was a young man with my fiancée at the time, we were only 17 or 18, we used to be in, Fitzpatrick's shop on North Street.
Which is closed, yeah.
We used to have trestle tables outside and sold fruit and and candy and orange juice and all the rest of it, and lemonade to the orange people. It was all great. We went and looked at it and enjoyed it. But I think sometimes you get elements coming in and they can stir the pot up and make things difficult. Those elements were not there in my younger days. I didn't see them, you know.
I think most parades actually do pass off peacefully. So I think there's only I think there's 3,000 parades a year, and there's only maybe a handful that are actually contentious or there is trouble around them. So
We had David he's the historian of the Orange Order. David Stewart? Can't remember his name. David?
Scott.
David Scott, yes. David was in about this time last year. And we must pull that out again, because it's particularly appropriate at this time of year to do that and have a look at it, given us the whole history of the Orange Order and all it's about and all of that. Okay.
there's a nice wee story just underneath that wee bit as well by Donald, and it was the Silvery Light ship, which has got £600,000 for a restoration project
Yes.
on the Albert Basin, and it was broken into
More vandalism.
and vandalised. Yeah.
More. The
Some people
Bosco
just can't-
boxing, the boat on the basin.
Yeah. They just
Awful,
can't. You know.
awful, absolutely awful. What sort of fools exist in our community?
Nice wee
Yeah.
page of pictures on 14 there, the annual. Sorry, Gareth's looking to get back in the
No,
sport.
no,
Oh, I know,
on-
it's fine.
on
Oh,
page
yeah,
14.
that's the...
Rathore School formal.
Isn't that beautiful?
They always get nice smiling faces up there, and
Funny enough, I
the-
was doing
the
something.
dresses and all on. Yeah.
I was doing something yesterday with him. You could look at it too, I'm sure, if you took the interest. It's very, very appropriate. There's a new Mary Goretti Foundation down in Lordship, outside Carlingford, where children who are challenged, like these children, are there being looked after, and a brand new respite centre there. Very, very successful indeed. So God bless them and let them go well. Gareth, where are we going now in
Well, I
sport?
suppose touching on the talk about the vandalism there, and there's a vandalism at the boxing club, but there's a boxing event out in Camla, in Carrickcroft and Gaelic Club on Friday night. The guest of honour was Armagh Ladies Gaelic
Yeah.
footballer Amy Mackin was seen to pass off very successfully. Generally gets a big crowd every year.
Yeah.
Sort of another positive story. We have a page, well, the course of a page of pics
You
on
have.
page 47 of St Mary's High School. The variety of sports, you get netball, athletics, ladies Gaelic football as well. So they've had a successful end of the year. Obviously the school year is coming to a close now, so it's good to see a school sort of publicising themselves.
Yes,
I
indeed.
think that, schools maybe can be a bit at fault for not publicising their own achievements. And then wonder why it's not in the paper.
Yeah.
If they let us know,
And then they
certainly-
blame you.
Well, yeah. So it's great that a school has sort of contacted us and has got the minimum of coverage it deserves. So it's good positive story.
Can I take you back to the boxing? It's a
Yeah.
bit of a hobby horse of mine. Unless I'm wrong, this tournament has been held in the lounge of the Carrickcruppen Football Club bar.
This event, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, I'm looking at the age of the children, the young
Yep.
people who are boxing, and I feel a lack of comfort about young people of this age being exposed to a drinks culture. I'm wondering if that's the best kind of place.
Well, I mean, it's the only place you can have it. They're the only. Every club will have. The aforementioned Bosco club will have events in Bellini's or the Canal Court. You need a big room.
Yeah.
To do
Just,
it.
I'm uneasy, I have to say, with
Well, I mean,
young people being interfaced with a drinks culture
Yeah,
at that age.
and I understand. So I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, you need a big space where people are able to see it rather than sticking it in a small room. The size of this, for example. They're there to participate in sport. They're not there. They're not going to be sitting there going, "Yeah, I've done my 3 rounds of boxing. I'm going to have a pint now."
No, that's not what I'm saying. It's the interface with
Well,
the drinks culture that causes
suppose
me.
you-
Look
get that
at it maybe in the opposite way. In that, well, if they're standing in the ring, they finish their bout, and they look around and they maybe see a couple of people, having the drink, and maybe people are a bit drunk. Maybe they turn around and go, "Well, you know what? I don't want to be like that. I'm going to continue with my boxing."
I hope you're right.
I think part of boxing is, it's that sort of sport where it does take people away from maybe hanging about in street corners, like any
Yeah,
sport does.
absolutely,
You know what I mean? So if it needs to be, if it was a sufficient enough room, then
But it's a cultural thing also, because if young people this month in July and August are going away on holidays with their
Yeah.
parents, whether it's to Spain or whatever, they're going to be with people drinking. If they're going to a restaurant in Newry or Warren Pint, there's people drinking. So,
Yeah. I do. My difficulty remains with it, and I rest my case at that.
What I did think was interesting here is you're actually a young girl fighting a young boy at this
Really?
event, which I thought was unusual.
Yeah, the top left
Yeah.
photo is Jordan Gorman on the left from Omeath, and Charlie McNulty in the red from Cameron,
My goodness.
and then that's them
Yeah.
on the top right. So yeah, so I mean
Okay.
it's good to see, I suppose.
Absolutely. Yeah. Take us on, boys. Where are we going next?
Taking the 16 and 17, and it's another great annual event in Newry. It's the annual Shining Light Community Volunteering Awards, where people and groups that
Yeah.
perhaps don't get the recognition they deserve are recognised each year. It's the Shining Light Awards. We've Autism Mums there, we've Carnegie Community Association, Newry and More and AME support group. All these big groups that are providing services, whether it's to the community or to the people with disabilities and that there. And it's great to see them recognised and get in the paper as well. So
Okay.
I'm happy with that.
It's just a wee thing I want to highlight on page 43.
43. We're there.
Two cyclists, Barry Tennelly and Rowan McMahon. They're taking part in the race round Ireland, which is a non-stop
My
race
goodness.
round Ireland, as it suggests, from August the 30th. On Saturday, they took part in what's known as the Waistline Cycle, from Rostrevor to Bundoran. So Rostrevor to Bundoran, I would say.
In one go.
Well, I'm sure they stopped at some point. I would like to think, but they cycled back the next day.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's why they call it the Waistline Cycle, isn't it? You'd probably
They
lose a few
yeah,
inches off your
absolutely.
waistline.
I
But
think so.
yeah, so it's something that we'll be following up on. It's a non-stop race around Ireland on August the 30th that they're doing, so it'll be a brilliant achievement.
I have to
if
say,
they do.
sport continues to be strong in your paper, and it's developing all the time. It's a good, strong section.
We'll leave it
He'd
at
be
that.
pushing for a pay raise after that.
Will
Colin.
he? Will he? Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
Can I just
Brian.
take you to page 18? And this is probably a character you're familiar with, and a lot of people are familiar with. Mick Quinn.
Yes,
from
the
Mullabar.
storyteller.
Mick died last week, so he's very well known. I did a number of interviews with him over the years. Very entertaining and very enthralling. So he was,
Yeah.
you get speaking of.
And he's gone.
Next golf is.
Okay. Are we almost there, boys?
Yeah, I suppose from a sport perspective, the aforementioned the Battle of the Track, the event that Willie McCracken held.
Aye.
We have a page of photographs and the full full race report, and Willie's very quick to sort of thank the people that were able to be able to help him out. But hopefully by his sort of get up and go to actually go and utilise the track, then we'd link some of their back page story that we can, the track can be fully used, and you can at least have some sort of level of top class events at it, because it's really being massively underused at the minute. And
Gareth, was it ever intended to be a full championship track facility?
Well, no. This was one of the things that whenever they, and I'll stand corrected here, I suppose, but it was initially meant to be 8 lanes, which means it would have been, like the Mary Peters track at Belfast, where it could have held, huge events. Lagan Valley Athletics Club run events on a regular basis at Mary Peters Club, or Mary Peters track. Whether there's still scope to hold events, it shouldn't just be used as a training facility. It costs over £2 million. It's not sitting there as a training facility. You couldn't throw a javelin in it because you'd end up spearing somebody because it's set up wrong.
That'd be more fun, wouldn't it?
But facility wise, plus there's no sports development officer there. There's nobody there on site during the day. It's not even signposted that it's there. So for people coming into the town, they don't know whether they can come and book it. Anything. The pitches are being used 100%, but you have a running track there and running facilities, athletics facilities, which are just being massively underused, and it's essentially going to turn into a white elephant for us.
Oh my God! I hope it doesn't.
Not literally. Obviously.
I hope you and your machinations within the paper pointing these things out will bring further success to the track. Some of these politicians who will put statements in the paper as they stand in potholes in the road or 2 flies going up a window, they're very silent about it all.
Well, I mean, I think we possibly might know the reason why that is, but it wouldn't be for me to speculate on television. There's been a number of different, as it all come out in Sport NI were involved in things a couple of years ago, and which is a whole issue surrounding it. So, but we don't want to go down that road again. But you want to at least utilise the facility that's there.
Yes.
What's the point? What's the point in sitting there? It's been used brilliantly for training.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't just be used for training.
And
There's a lot more to it.
Leave your javelins at home.
Leave your javelins at home.
It's a good idea. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. This week in the Newry Reporter, we've been shooting the breeze and enjoying the crack. I'm Rowan Hand. These men of the Reporter will return next week again. Thanks, lads. Good luck.
Thanks, Rowan.